Today, we are making delicious gluten-free bagels using #1 gluten-free bread and roll mix from www.oneglutenfree.com. You may purchase bread mix and many other mixes at #1glutenfree.com.
You would just dump the bag of mix that you would have and the instant yeast in your mixing bowl. The instant yeast doesn't need to be rehydrated. It can mix right in. Okay, this is going to mix until until the starches start to take up the moisture. We hold the oil back, and this is listed on the back of your package. Hold the oil back until the water has had a chance to combine with the starches. If you were to put the oil in early, the starches would take up the oil and not fully hydrate. So now that's had a chance to mix. We're going to add our oil. And then I'm going to get an additional amount of water. We always like to scrape the bowl down. If you're using like a Hobart KitchenAid, you would do exactly this. Take a long-handled spatula, scrape the bowl down, and this will give you a much better, much more thorough mix. These are probably the most handy thing that were ever invented for the kitchen. Just plastic bowl scrapers. And they're available online. About a minute and a half. After that moisture starts to be taken up by the dough mass, you can see that we're now able to put this up in second speed, and we can get a more complete mixing. You don't have to worry about over mixing it, because there's no gluten in there to cause the product to get tough. What we're doing is we're making sure that all of the starches that are, of course, a component of the mix are able to take up all of the moisture and incorporate the oil. Part of this process also is going to rehydrate the instant yeast. The instant yeast will take up the moisture it needs to become active again and properly ferment the dough. So we're going to give this about another 45 seconds. Now you can see that this is starting to not form a dough. We want it to end up about the consistency of a thick biscuit batter. You can see if this were a regular bread dough, that would be collecting into a dough ball. We do not want that. We want it to almost look ragged and torn apart. And then we'll take it immediately to the work surface. One of the most popular items that can be made with the #1 gluten-free bread and roll mix, and an item that's sorely missed by a lot of people, are gluten-free bagels. What we're going to do is take an amount of dough roughly equivalent to the dough that you would produce with 2 bags of the mix. You take this piece of dough and make bagels. Once again, I like to dust with white rice flour. Works real well. This is, once again, an item that could be available online. It's just a baker's commercial rolling pin. Roll the dough. This is incredibly easy. Roll the dough to about the same thickness as your finger or your thumb, okay? You can see if we can get our thumb in there, just about the same thing. We use a standard donut cutter. This one is what the industry would consider to be a 3-inch cutter. All right? We're going to take this cutter, get some flour on the surface, and cut the donut shaped piece of dough for a bagel. I like to stretch them out just a little bit and then place it on a baking paper or pan lined with silicone parchment paper. This piece of dough, 2 bags of mix, should easily make you a dozen or maybe 15 standard size bagels. What we have here is a couple of eggs and just enough water to give us a nice consistency, probably about a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of water. Dip the bagels face first in the egg wash. This will give them a nice golden color. What we're going to do now is, in our case at the bakery, we have a proof box, which is a warm cabinet with reasonably high humidity in it. But at home you can set these up anywhere, let them rest for about 25 minutes to half an hour, and then right into a 425 degree oven for about 25 minutes. These are the gluten-free bagels after they've had a chance to rise or proof for about half an hour. They've been dipped in eggs to give the crust a little bit of a shine, and they'll be going right in an oven at 425 degrees for about 25 minutes.
Enjoy your delicious gluten-free bagels. See oneglutenfree.com for recipes and details on many tasty gluten-free mixes. Visit us at Cafe 2 in Sayre, Pennsylvania.